Craig Oliverius has been the Alva Palms fire chief since March of this year. Today, I talk one-on-one with him about how the job is going for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Alva Palms Fire Chief Craig Oliverius, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. It's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Obviously, you are the new Alva Palms Fire Chief and have been since, I believe, March of this particular year. Who is Chief Oliverius these days?
He's a very busy man. He's just like everybody in our great nation. You know, we're multitasking and doing a lot of great things. So, yeah, I'm very, very busy. Similar to when I was deputy chief in Mount Pleasant. We had a great team there, and coming in here to this team, I'm just, I guess who I am today is I'm trying to learn how to be a good servant leader and serve our people with excellent customer service. So that's what I'm really focused on.
Yes, indeed. And we thank you for your time at the Mount Pleasant Fire Department as well. And Chief Nixon is just amazing guy. You talk about obviously great customer service and, obviously getting to know everything and everyone. How have the firefighters gotten to know you since your time at the fire department?
Great question. I have been able to sit down with each of them individually and talk with them one-on-one, learn who they are, what they're about, what brought them to Isle of Palms, and why they chose us. And so that's been wonderful. I've been able to respond to a few calls here and there with them. I did serve some time on each shift. So I went and served a 24-hour shift with A shift, B shift, and C shift. I slept in the station and ran a few calls after midnight, tried to recover from that. But that was a good time. I was able to kind of get to sit down with our group and have supper with them. We have some phenomenal chefs and a lot of good stories at the dinner table, and having that good family meal together is the camaraderie and teamwork. That's what it's all about. So, yeah.
And I want to ask you this too, Chief. How do you build the shared vision from all ranks of the departments now that you've gotten to know most of them?
Well, getting to know, it's about building relationships. You find the strengths and weaknesses in everybody, and you learn how to play on those and complement those. And so we're embarking on a strategic planning process that'll be a 5-year strategic plan. We're going to go through that process in November. And so getting our people excited about that and involved in that is going to give us a good long-term vision. But for now, we're reaching out to people and say, hey, we have these initiatives, we have these projects. Who's interested? Where are your talents? And getting to know these people individually. If, hey, they're really great with boats, or really CPR is a passion, or installing car seats or fire operations. And then we're giving those tasks and those projects to those people to let them shine and let them grow.
And Chief, let me ask you, I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself and ahead of your comprehensive plan that you all want to get put together in November. But what is the fire department's strengths and what are the fire department's weaknesses right now?
Well, for us, our strength is our people. We have phenomenal people. Really, the weakness is me. How do I prioritize? How do I help focus all this great talent and all of the energy that these people bring to the table? So we have some people that are very passionate about physical fitness, and so we're harnessing that. We have some people who are really interested in our Marine program, and we're harnessing that. So time, I guess, is an enemy because it is very difficult to accomplish all that we want to accomplish in a short amount of time. So we have to be realistic with our expectations. But just really looking and finding our people that have that enthusiasm, have that energy, because we have the expertise in our department. So the strength is our enthusiastic vision that everybody brings, and the teamwork aspect. These firefighters have, some of them been here for over 20 years, and they're ready to keep being progressive. Chief Ann Graham did a phenomenal job laying the foundation here, and so we're just building upon that foundation that that Chief Graham built, and then all these other firefighters built here prior to my arrival.
And what else do you want to build on, Chief?
Well, we want to continue to build for teamwork. We want to build for the future. We want to support our community. So our strategic plan is going to be, again, another piece of that foundation as we build our department. But it's going to be a community-driven strategic plan. It's going to have involvement from our citizens, from our visitors to the island, from our business owners. Very important for our elected officials to be involved in our city administration, of course, along with our firefighters giving their thoughts to that. So it's going to be driven by the needs of, how we forecast out. We use data historically because past performance does indicate, at sometimes, you can kind of predict the future, or at least have an idea, have that roadmap. And so we want to be progressive and proactive and be nimble, so we can be efficient and we can react to the needs that we have in the community. But some of that can be forecasted through data, through feedback, community surveys, having our people involved and throughout all ranks and throughout the community. Having that community support and buy-in is so important because a lot of these things we want to do have a budget impact.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about that in just a second, but let me ask you this, Chief. How do you react to the needs of the community right now?
Well, right now, it's pretty interesting. We were number one in the survey for departments at Isle of Palms for customer service. And so we're building upon that. As we go out in the community, we talk to people when we're doing our fire and life safety education programs and say, hey, what do you like? How can we serve you better? So we have those open and honest discussions when we're at the farmers market, or if we're at one of our community events like Isle of Palms. We had a race this past weekend. So any of those events, we just engage people and we get that feedback immediately.
Yes, sir. And what are those community outreach initiatives that you actually want to implement?
Well, for us, there's a lot of different things. Community CPR is huge. First aid, community CPR, that's something that is a huge push for us. Getting our fire and life safety education initiatives out there with our local business owners to know what are things that they can do to make their businesses fire safe. How can they protect their investment so they can be proactive and stop losses before they happen. Because a day or two, if these businesses, these restaurants are out of business in the busy season, that's a very difficult hit on them financially. So how can we help our short-term rental companies, which are all throughout the island? We have a lot of visitors. How can we help them protect their investment by educating them with working smoke detectors on each floor, in the sleeping areas, having fire extinguishers present, all these little things, escape routes. So these people know when they come to a short-term rental at Isle of Palms that the rental companies have given them that education, that information. It helps protect that owner of that property, helps protect the visitors. When you go to a restaurant, the business owners know that, hey, we need to do these things to be safe, to protect our customers, and also to protect our investments so we can keep serving the community. So us getting out to the community for those initiatives for fire and life safety information and for community CPR, that's a huge push. We're working with Wild Dunes later in August to do some first aid and CPR with them. So we engage wherever there's an opportunity.
And I want to get back to that in just a second, Chief, but let me ask you, what else do you want to educate the residents of Isle of Palms on when it comes to, CPR and other fire information?
Well, number one is early notification of the system. Knowing where you are is very important. Over 75% of the phone calls that come into the 911 dispatch center, to the consolidated dispatch center in Charleston County, are on cell phone. And many times if a person who calls in, they typically are a visitor or they're out and about and they say, hey, where are you? Hey, we're in Charleston. Well, they don't know if they're on the peninsula of Charleston,
Right.
North Charleston, Somerville,
Right.
Isle of Palm, Sullivan's Island. To a visitor, it's all Charleston.
Mm.
So letting people know how important that is to know where you are when you make that early notification to 911 is so crucial. Minutes can be saved, 3 and 4 minutes sometimes if you know exactly where you are. That helps us with our response times. So really educating the public on when you make that call, make sure you know you can give good directions, and that'll help us as emergency responders arrive to the scene quickly.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, Chief, how many emergency medical services calls have you guys received thus far? Speaking of the summer.
Oh, for emergency medical?
Yes, sir.
Emergency medical is probably 70% of what we do. The bulk is, water rescue calls, 20%. Wow. And then we have, our fire alarms and fire type calls make up the remainder. So we're very heavily involved in on the medical piece. So we typically, to this point in the year, we're about halfway through our busy season. We typically respond to 1,000 calls total for the year over 2 stations, but the bulk of those 1,000 calls are between April and September. I'd have to look back at the data, but it looks like we were tracking to around 380 to 450 calls for medical calls for service right now.
Oh my! And when you talk about all of the services, Chief, what are the annual fire losses for the city of the Isle of Palms?
We typically will have 2 to 3 working structure fires a year. Sometimes we have 1. It's a very small data set, thankfully, but we have a lot of large businesses, a lot of very large homes on the island for rentals, where you might have 20 people staying in a house potentially. So in fact, we did have a structure fire due to a potential lightning strike on Friday, just a few days ago. And our responders were able to get there quickly. They had working smoke detectors in the home. The children in the house were able to notify their parents before the smoke detectors activated that they did smell smoke, and they thought they heard something burning, and they did. And so they had that early notification to 911, and everybody self-evacuated and were waiting on the porch for us upon our arrival, and we were able to contain that fire to the room of origin. So that was a great call for our people this year. So we've had 2 fires so far this year.
Wow. And what is the general? Well, speaking of which, what response time data are you gathering right now?
So that's an interesting piece to what we're doing. One thing that we're going to look at is establishing those benchmarks. We don't have those response times established yet. It's a great question, because what we want to do is consider looking at our response times through the lens of accreditation. When I was in Mount Pleasant, we were an accredited department, and you have that outside view, and those assessors come look at that. And so for us, we're still gathering data. We have our main station here at 30 J.C. Long Boulevard, and then we have our other station, which is at the marina, which is a little bit over 3 miles away. But Wild Dunes, when we get back to the north end of the island, the roads are a little more windy, a little more. You have a little more difficulty with navigating because there are a lot of live oaks and a lot of beautiful trees. So we're trying to establish our data sets to evaluate what would be acceptable response times for us in our response time analysis through the lens of accreditation as part of our strategic plan. If that comes out as an initiative that we adopt, then in the next 5 years, that will help us assess where we are and to make sure we're delivering excellent customer service. So we're very data driven, and data drives the budget needle, and we're aware of that. So yes, we do not have those established yet, those response time benchmarks, but it's something that we're definitely working toward.
Now, Chief, let me ask you just a simplistic question. What is the current budget for the fire department right now?
Well, I think anybody can tell you it's great, but it's not enough, right? We always want more. We
Sure.
have great support from our community. We
Yes.
have great support from our elected officials and our city administration.
Yes.
And we're looking for inefficiencies in the budget and looking for where we are efficient and trying to replicate those. With economies of scale and resource sharing are very important, and so we're leveraging those opportunities with our partners in Mount Pleasant, Sullivan's Island, City of Charleston, North Charleston. We've been doing a lot of those resource sharing opportunities, and that's where we're going to really maximize our budget. So I like to look at our budget as a living document that has to be supported from multiple different angles, and through that community support and through sharing resources, whether it's an automatic aid or mutual aid, joint purchasing, all those type things are important to support a budget, because like any municipality, any business, you don't have enough, but what you do is you maximize what you have. And if you're able to do that, you can help put those funds to other areas that may need them, that may be underserved. And so anything we've asked for, we've been able to get, and we just have to be able to justify it and lay it out in a strategic manner, and so we can phase it in, and it can be part of the budget and part of the comprehensive and the capital plan moving forward. A budget cycle is very, very quick. You used to think when you're a kid, oh, Christmas, it takes forever for, a holiday to get here. Summer will never get here, but it always seems like, hey, it's the next thing is, 2 weeks away, or, budget prep is, a month away. But we've been very lucky to have a very supportive environment. And anytime we identify a need, we've had lots of support and lots of different scenarios that are given to us where we can be successful.
And that brings me to my next point, Chief. The reciprocal agreements with the towns like Mount Pleasant, where they provide additional emergency services like help in cleaning up gas spills, as you know. What towns do you all get the most assistance from?
Sullivan's Island, we work really well with them. We work well with all our partners. Sullivan's Island, we do a lot of water rescue with Sullivan's Island because we share a common bridge, there at Breach Inlet, and that's a very high risk area. Yeah. So we share that area. With Mount Pleasant, we share the Isle of Palms connector. So we work really well with them as well. We have automatic aid with Sullivan's Island, and right now we have mutual aid with Mount Pleasant. We're exploring the opportunity to go automatic aid with Mount Pleasant and City of Charleston, North Charleston, James Island, Johns Island, St. Andrews. So we're able to share those resources in a more efficient and more effective manner to be part of a larger group.
And unfortunately, it's raining right now here in downtown Charleston, Chief. But I want to get you back on Quintin's close-up so we can talk more about your comprehensive strategic plan. But in the meantime, Alpha Palms Fire Chief Craig Oliverius, thank you for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's close-ups.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.